how many steps would I have taken? How many people would I have used? How many different hats would I have put on to get the data from prompt to output if I had no AI? You could make as many agents in the world. There is no limit to this. It's not like there's a limit to the amount of agents that you can make. It's not complicated. The idea behind it is what is critical. Hey, welcome back to your weekly CXL feed. My name is Shawn David. I'm here from Automate to Win, and I'm going to talk about multi-agent prompting today. We already talked about how to make sure you got your information into the LLM, and we talked about how to make sure that using specificity that the LLM doesn't go ahead and hallucinate on you. Now we're going to show how we're going to optimize all of your outputs based upon multi-agent prompting. Ready? So we already know we can give a prompt to the LLM and we can get an output, right? We also know now we can add our own training data to do what we call grounding to allow the LLM to have specific content and context around your business or your prompt. Great. We also know that vague and non-specific prompts can give multiple context, which gives multiple outputs, which allows the LLM to get confused with multiple outputs and will what we call hallucinate. Okay. So we know non-specific prompts, vague prompts going into non-trained data allows it to hallucinate. So we train the data and we give specific prompts. Great. But what happens when we don't actually have the ability to train the individual steps of what's happening within the context? So we're getting what this is. We're getting our training data into our context and we're getting the output, which is generally okay, but we don't really have the ability to go through and change everything that's happening within this context because it's just asking it a question. So maybe we're saying, go through and create this sentiment analysis from reviews, right? So we say, okay, here's reviews and give me back sentiment analysis. That generally could be okay. But more than likely, if you're running into this and you've already seen this and you've gone through the other two weekly rundowns, then you know this can fall flat without the level of specificity you need. It may make it go quicker, but the quality isn't exactly what you need. So this is what we do to handle that. We break it out into individual agent prompts. It's very simple. So what do? We build prompts out for individual agents, and we can do this as simply as new chats if you want to do it that way. The best way to do it is to create API calls in a chatbot. Doesn't matter. You can take the thing that's responded from each individual chat directly from ChatGPT or from Claude or from Perplexity. It doesn't matter. You can take that and then just paste the response from the first agent into the second. So just open a new window, log back in, start a new chat. There you go. You can have all four of them open at the same time, 5 of them, whatever, it doesn't matter. You can feed each individual one. Let's take the example, right? We want to go ahead and look at sentiment analysis and negative reviews, right? That's what we were looking at earlier. Let's continue that. So in agent A, in the very first prompt, right? So if you look at here, you have agent A prompt. This is the very first thing. This is the first chat that you've opened. You say, agent A, you are a UX specialist dedicated to finding patterns and systematic themes in user-created reviews. So you give it its context. This is what you are, very specific. You will be fed a CSV of user reviews where you will return a structured JSON. This could be anything. You can do XML and you can just say structured data, but JSON is what this already exists on. So even if you don't know what JSON is, JSON, just say that. Just use those words. Structured JSON. It's going to be able to transfer the data in between individual agents and you'll be fine. So you go and you say you'll be fed a CSV of user reviews where you return a structured JSON with major themes with examples from the data provided. Use only the data provided as your source with the larger LLM for context you need only. Use only this source, ground it, like we learned, back to this source. Don't hallucinate, only use this. Return structured JSON again. You want to tell it exactly what you're giving it and exactly what you want back. The specificity super matters here. Okay. So Now the agent's going to go and it's going to take its training data, what you just told it. It's going to take its CSV. It's going to do everything that it needs to do. And it's going to come into here. It's going to run its context and it's going to say, okay, these are the themes. These are everything that I learned. And then it's going to output that to agent B. And that's going to be structured JSON. And this is critical because agent B is the sentiment analysis. Okay. And the sentiment analysis is you are an agent that takes reviews and themes as structured data and identifies and categorizes them based upon sentiment analysis. So sentiment analysis is going to be typical machine learning. You can go as deep as you want here. There's no limit to the level that you can actually go. You can give it 50 different reviews and you can go down into the weeds and say, this is the reason they left the review and this is the type of person. You can have it break this out however you want. But this is the agent that does that. So you take the structured data from all of the top themes and all of the actual words that came in from agent A. So you theme it and you get everything that you need, break out the top themes, and then you send it for sentiment analysis. You could do these in either order. It doesn't really matter. You can get sentiment analysis, get those broken out into individual ones, and then send them in for themes. But the problem is at that point, you're pre-categorizing and it has the ability to sometimes hallucinate. Your mileage may vary. Your data is going to be different. The key here is understanding what you're doing. You're breaking down each individual step of what you want to prompt into what we call agents, which is just another chat. But what you're doing is you're giving yourself the ability to granularly change and pull the levers and push the buttons of the system that you would never have if you were up here. Even with training data, forget this, but even if with training data, you don't have the ability to go in and change what's happening here in this one area. It's just give me this, get that. Okay. Now, when you get here, you tell A this, you tell B this, right? Now, what happens is you're looking at, now you have output B, you go into the LLM context, into agent C. Now, what is agent C? You are a report creating agent. So what are we doing here? We're taking data from a review farm and we're creating a human-read report. But we have to tell it what that means. So we say these reports are to help the humans make choices in business plans, which are critical for the business survival. Your expertise and experience in business matters will heavily be required. You put the onus on it so it understands what it needs to do. What kind of decisions does it have to make? What are you actually expecting the output of this to be from? And these are the inputs that you're getting. So the most important and critical thing here is the instructions of what are you getting and what are you making. So you say you're getting structured JSON and you will output the PDF and slide decks, which can be easily shared to C-suite level executives without need for explanation or exposition. So you're creating this agent that's then going, and if it's in Gemini, for instance, it's going to create it in slides itself. In GPT, more than likely, it's going to give you a Google slide code, which will then, you could copy paste and create the actual thing. In Cloud, you can create a project, which will then create the slides for you. Like each individual one is going to be a little bit different depending on the model you're using. But the whole idea is decide what it is that you're doing as an output. Where do you want to be here? And then basically you just Candyland your way back. Just go back in time and say, what do I need to get from here to here? How many steps would I have taken? How many people would I have used? How many different hats would I have put on to get the data from prompt to output if I had no AI? Once you realize that, you can build individual agents. Agent A, Agent B, and Agent C are 3 different tabs of ChatGPT that you have open with 3 different chats. And you take the output from A and you paste it into B, you take the output of B, you paste it into C, and you keep going. It's not complicated. The idea behind it is what is critical. Extract out each individual step of what you're doing and then create an agent or a chat for that so you can actually manipulate the variables that you're running. Okay? So at the end of the day, what we have to understand is every step of the process using agent with specific instructions. Remember, step 1, we have to understand how to get our own information into the LLM and not let them use context that doesn't matter to our own business. Number 2, We have to make sure that we use that grounding and specific instructions to make sure it doesn't hallucinate, giving it the level of instructions and context in the prompt so it doesn't have multiple outputs to choose from. Then, once we have that system set up, we can then start to actually automate this a little bit using agentic processes, and you start breaking out each individual one into each individual agent. And from there, you start pulling levers and pushing buttons. All you need to do is break out your processes into individual pieces, and then you can make as many agents in the world. There's no limit to this. It's not like there's a limit to the amount of agents that you can make. You can make as many as you want, as many times as you need to. They won't hallucinate agent to agent because you're using structured JSON. Let me repeat that. You won't get hallucinations because you're using structured JSON. Because you're taking it with specific information and you're shaping it in such a way, it doesn't move. It doesn't flow. There's no changing or definitions. There's no translations. There's nothing. This is the data after I have been made it, and that's data forever. That structure keeps it in the frame. So even if you were to use like paragraphs or just language, it's going to change. It's a game of telephone. So the thing to take away from this, if you take nothing away, every single step of your process, build an agent with specific instructions that output structured data. Out of these 3 lessons, you now understand how to use your own data, stop it from hallucinating, and break it out so you can have individual control. With all 3 of these things together, you now are a master at using this system, and you can get the outputs that you really need. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.